Students discuss what they consider to be the most important change America needs during OneWorld Progressive Institute's annual Oratory competition finals. Hear the students' views on the major issues facing Americans and find out who wins the competition next on 21st Century Conversations.
This is the end of our oratory competition. This is round 3, the final round. And tonight we have 6 young people from Betsy Ross School in New Haven, the Amistad Academy, and Hamden Middle School. And they are going to speak extemporaneously for a few minutes about an issue that they care about. And we want to tell you a little bit about how this works. We started back in February with 19 contestants. We had a round 1 and round 2 that Hamden Middle School was so courteous to allow us to use their facilities for. And then we have 6 students standing for the final round, and they are going to be the presenters this evening. At the end of the evening, our judges will determine who are the 3 most competent for this round. It really doesn't say anything about who these young people are, because they're all brave young people to be here. They're all brave to have taken on this task. But of course, in a competition, you have placements, and we're going to select 3 people this evening who will be first, second, and third place, and then we will have consolation prizes for the other 3. Of course, we hope, among all else, that every child who participated from round 1 up to this point will have learned a great deal and will have become more skilled at speaking about an issue of concern or something that they care about and expressing themselves much more competently. Our judges this evening are Mark Primary, Catherine Hill, and Enola Aird. Mark and Enola are board members for OneWorld, and Catherine Hill is a retired educator from New Haven and a long-standing friend and someone who is passionate about learning herself. And she's been gracious enough to volunteer her time to be a judge for us for this competition. The students are going to speak to you in alphabetical order. They will simply say their first names. They will not say what school they're from or anything else about themselves until after the competition. We will tell you. And so I am grateful for all the teachers and the principals and the parents who have been supportive and cooperative. And without further ado, I'm going to call on our first contestant, Charles Chamberlain.
Hello, my name is Charlie, and I think that the single most important change America needs is to establish positive role models in our society. I've interviewed a fair amount of people, and around 1/3 of them described their role models as being beast or being a beast. And this, I don't think, is the best adjective to try to find or explain your reason why they're your role model. If you have someone who is admirable or honorable, that might be a better adjective. So in this speech, I'm going to tell you what I think they should be, what I think, why that's the most important change, and what you can do to help. So, what should role models be like? Well, role models can be like a lot of things. I think that anyone can be a role model, but it matters how you look at them. It's for each person. So, about a fourth of the people that I interviewed consider their parents to be their role models. And it's my belief that your parents shouldn't be your role models because they're your parents, but because who they are or what they've done. And of course, parents can be role models. I actually know one of my teachers, her role model is her parent. And this is because her mom went to school and got an education, went to college, and continued to take classes throughout her life. But before she had a family and settled down and had 6 children, she got an education, and that was unusual for the time. So that's why my teacher is proud of her mother. And my role model is actually a stranger. Or one of my role models, and I met him at a tennis court. Anyways, so he lent me some balls when I had lost my last ball, and all I know about him is how he treats strangers. But I still want to base my life off him and be like him. So, some more role models that are considered beasts. One of my friends described his role model as, or one of his role models as Triple H. Triple H is a wrestler, and he is pretty good, I guess. He's a pro wrestler, so I bet he has to be. Anyways, I don't know that much about him, but I do know that my friend described him as being willing enough to support his crowd, and that's why he's his role model, because he backs up his supporters. And so I think that wrestlers aren't always the best role models, and they shouldn't be because of their title. See, it's not fame or title or position that should make a role model, but who they are and what they've done with their life and how they exist and what you want to be like. So there's a lot of reasons why role models are needed and why they're the most important change America needs today. They're the most important change America needs today, in my opinion, because they affect all the other problems. If you have a doctor who inspires a young person to become a doctor, then that young person could grow up to solve cancer or develop nanotechnology, do something great with their lives, but they wouldn't do that without that doctor. If you have someone who has prejudices against gender, race, or religion, they can have a role model who doesn't have prejudices, and that can change their way of thinking. Also, it goes the same. If you have a negative role model, someone who doesn't influence you well, then you can be influenced differently. For example, if you don't have prejudices and you have a role model who does, then that can change your beliefs in a negative way. An example of a negative role model will be Michael Vick. He is a pro football player. He plays in the NFL, and he fought dogs. And this is obviously not a good trait. It's immoral and a bad thing to do. And yet a lot of people look up to him because he plays in the NFL and he's a pro football player and he's famous. And that's not necessarily a good thing. Now, he could be a good role model to somebody, but it depends on how they look at him. And he's not, because of those traits, he's not usually a good role model to most people. And we can do a lot of things to help establish role models in our community. For example, there's many mentor programs that establish mentors and role models for people who need them. There's one that is for teachers. They train beginning teachers to be mentored and to be role models. And so what's basically happening is there's a master mentor who teaches a mentor to teach a teacher to teach students. And I think that's really cool. So think about what master mentor is, and I think that's a really important thing to do. There's also something called solutionsforamerica.org, and they have different solutions and problems, and one of them is to role models. It's exactly that. And what they do is they have a family counseling sort of thing, which teaches parents how to be role models and how to help make sure that the children have experiences that can help them develop positive role models. For example, if you have too much media, and Britney Spears is someone who's displayed on the media a lot, or was, and she made some poor life decisions, and she's not always considered a good role model, but she had a lot of fame, so she was looked up by a lot of people. And if we limit that, we can help make sure that there are more positive role models in our community. And so think about your role model. Think about why they're your role model. If they're not necessarily the good reasons, then maybe try to find more reasons or try to find a new role model or some new role models. So try to be a mentor or try to even be a master mentor. Thank you.
Colette?
My name is Colette. I think that the single most important change that America needs is to remember that we are the United States of America. We're always thinking in terms of us and them. We're categorizing and comparing ourselves to other people, and that's not right. This isn't a problem that just affects the kids, just affects the adults. This is a problem that's intergenerational. Even starting in elementary and middle school. In elementary school, we see the boys and the girls separating themselves, not wanting to interact with each other. In my own elementary school, we had a game called Girls versus Boys, where the girls and the boys would basically chase each other around the yard all recess. But what happened was there was a catch. If a girl was caught talking to a boy or a boy was caught talking to a girl, they were considered dirty or abandoning their team. And I think that this is showing that they're thinking in terms of this is us, we're the girls, and then there's them, the boys, and they're separate from us, they're different, we shouldn't talk to them. And I think it gets even worse in middle school when we start having our cliques of the jocks, the popular kids, the nerds, the geeks. And I think it still becomes even more of that us and them, the separating from each other and thinking that because they're different than us, that we can't necessarily talk to them or be friends with them. And just because people have differing opinions doesn't mean you should treat someone differently because of their opinions. And I think this is an important thing to remember. This problem doesn't go away when we reach high school or college. It continues into adulthood. And in adulthood, the problems are a little bit bigger. In adulthood, we think of the wealthy and the unwealthy, the fortunate and the not as fortunate, the educated and the uneducated. We basically categorize and compare ourselves to whatever we can. And we don't think as a united nation anymore. And I think that one example of this is the gay and straight. They think very differently. There are a lot of homophobic people. And if you look at our own Pledge of Allegiance, we say, we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And all means everyone, if I remember correctly. Every single person is part of this indivisible, in America, is part of this indivisible nation, that we are all together as one unique, amazing nation. And I think we have to remember this. Also, in terms of thinking in us and them, we also think in terms of America and the rest of the world. I think that a lot of people, students especially, don't really realize that there's another world outside of the little one they live in. If you really think about it, you're one person that lives in one town, in one state, in one country, on one continent, on this one planet that rotates around one sun, that is in one galaxy, which is one of millions. And if you think in terms of that, think about how small we really are. And think about how much more there is than just you as your one person. And I think we need to start thinking a little more outside the box and outside our own lives and start thinking unitedly. Not only united as America, but united as a world, as a planet. And we need to remember that we are united. And we need to make sure that because I think lately we've been forgetting that we're a united nation. I think that not even just a united nation, but a united earth. And I think that even with the earthquake in Haiti, yeah, there were people reaching out to help. But a lot of people didn't reach out to help. A lot of people thought, oh, that's so far away. How does that affect me? How can that ever affect me? Because it's so far away, and it has so little to do with me as a person. So I think that we really need to remember that we're all on this planet together. We're all human beings. We're all people. We all have a purpose here, and I think it's our job to remember that not only to help ourselves find our own way, but to help others around us find their way too. And I think that there's not really an easy solution to this problem. I think that it's hard to change the very way you think, but I think that we can do it, and I think that we have to start with the youth, because I think that our parents influence us a lot. If we have people who have conservative parents, most of the time they will grow up to be conservatives. The same with liberals, Democrats, Republicans. We take a lot of influence from our parents. And I think that if we keep going back and seeing all this influence, we still have those prejudices, even though we don't like to admit it, from hundreds of years ago. And I think that parents really need to focus on teaching their kids that we are all one indivisible nation, and that you have to care for another as you would for yourself. And I think that it's really important to just remember that we're one people, and that I think the best way to do this would be to not only try and change the way you think, but also to teach the youth. Thank you.
Mrs. Kayla?
Hi. I think that the biggest change America needs is to be healthy. It's not a shocker when I tell you that America has become more obese over the years. Did you know that obesity is the second most preventable cause of death in the United States? Over 60 million adults 20 and older are obese. 9 million children 6 to 17 are overweight. These numbers are shocking, and they show us that America needs to get fit and fast. Healthy diets aren't supposed to be difficult. You're not supposed to spend endless hours counting calories and measuring proportions. It's as simple as adding a variety of fresh and healthy foods. You also don't have to change your diet overnight. It's better to take small steps so that you'll get the habit throughout your life and have a healthy diet throughout your life. If you change your diet for a week and make it a stressful thing for you, then you're gonna quit fast, and it's not gonna last you very long, and you're not gonna have a healthy diet. I know a lot of us with busy schedules like to go for fast foods, but fast foods are not good for you. And almost 10% of the energy kids have nowadays is from fast foods. I think that you don't need to take away the foods you love from your diet, but that you need to enjoy them in moderations. Another thing that you can go to is mypyramid.gov. And what it is you can plug in your information like your weight, your height, and it will show you your dietary plans if you want to change them. And I think it's a great way for someone who doesn't know how to get started to have a healthier diet. Having a healthier diet is about reaching your goal of feeling better and having more energy throughout the day. Exercise is also a big problem when it comes to being healthy. America has become lazy, whether we like to admit it or not. How many of you have ever lost your TV remote before and have searched for it frantically instead of just going up to the TV and pressing the buttons? It may seem silly, but these little things show us how lazy we really are. I mean, taking a daily walk with your dog or just taking the staircase instead of the elevator or the escalator can help tons if you do it every single day. The main thing that I think is a problem is school systems and gym classes. I know my brother personally only has 2 30-minute gym classes a week. That's an hour of physical activity in 1 week of school. This is completely absurd. School systems teach us skills we need to have in life, and physical education isn't any different. I think that school systems and gym physical education classes need to introduce cardio and yoga classes too, so that if the students can't get to a gym or don't have gym equipment at home, they can still work out and be fit. Cardio and yoga aren't supposed to be hard, and you're not supposed to stress yourself, so learning simple techniques in gym class can help a lot, especially with kids who don't know what they're doing. And if you have the knowledge when you're younger, you'll most likely keep it to the rest of your life. I also think that cardio is a very big thing.